if you see a problem, don't sit on the sidelines. You have just as much power to go fix something. We have a voice. Some of the best ideas come from people on the floor. They see the problem, they find innovative ways to fix it.
Welcome to Vet Life Reimagined. One of the hardest things in veterinary medicine is not being able to help an animal because of lack of finances. Our guest today, with the help of the entrepreneurial mindset of his younger brother, decided to do something about these types of situations. Dr. Robert Parkins and his brother Nathan have created a unique way to build angel funds for veterinary hospitals through a company and nonprofit, myBalto Foundation. The company was named after the famous story of Balto, the husky who brought medicine to the village that could only be reached by sled dog. Robert shares his own husky story at the end of the episode, so make sure you stay for the full conversation. A conversation of empowerment, innovative thinking, and a lot of hope and gratitude. Let's get to the conversation with Dr. Robert Parkins. When did you know that you were interested in getting into veterinary medicine?
My story is kind of similar to probably a lot of people's. When I was younger, I was like, oh, I love animals. And the book, All Things Great and Small, it's the James Herriot book. I was a big nerd, read like crazy. My grandma gave me that book for I think when I was 7 or 8. And I just crushed through it. And at that point, I was like, oh, this sounds so cool. I love the stories, the comedy. And then ironically enough, I actually got to college and I was like, I'm too afraid of the schooling. So I actually went into business first and then slept through 20 classes and then bounced back into vet med because I was like, I love what I'm doing. I should do this. And that's kind of how it started. But yes, my grandma was actually probably the inspiration for how I got to where I am today.
Well, excellent. There's a lot to be said of being motivated to actually learn something to help you, do the hard stuff that comes along with the learning.
Oh,
So,
no, I think it's just that fear factor. Do I really want to be in school for 8 more years? But that's true. You feel like this too. It doesn't really feel like work when you love what you do. I mean, I work almost every day of the week now, but I'm not as stressed as I feel like I should be. So I like to put that way.
that's usually a good sign. It usually means you're in a zone where you're thriving and doing what you enjoy. So yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, and you said you kind of got into business there for a little while, and I happen to know, and I think this is important because your brother Nathan comes back into your story later on, and he is coming from a business and entrepreneurial perspective. So I did warn you I was going to ask you this question. I am curious if you have any stories from when you guys were growing up that kind of foreshadow maybe his entrepreneurial nature as well as, you getting into veterinary medicine.
Yeah, no, he's got quite a few. Ironically enough, one of my favorite ones is my brother and I were going through our, pre-adolescent puberty stages. We were eating literally everything in the house. Like there was no food that was safe. My parents were like, go get jobs in the food industry because we can't afford to feed you. Like it was bad. And so one day my dad says, hey, we need more 2% milk. Go grab a couple gallons down at the store real quick and come back. It was within walking distance. So he gave my brother $20 to walk down there, come back. And as my brother comes back, he gives him 2 gallons of milk and walks upstairs. My dad's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And imagine now this is 1990s or maybe early 2000s. So milk wasn't that expensive back then. My dad turns and was like, hey, where's my change? And he's like, oh, there's a service fee. And he literally just kept walking right up the stairs. And my dad's like, I'm never again going to offer your brother to go get milk at the store because I'm not getting any money back. I'm not getting any change. And that's the thing when my brother just started from day one, being like, hey, there's things like you can turn something into profit and like, I'm going to do this for you, but we're going to make some money while I'm doing it. And he's actually a very giving person. So I don't want to make him sound like a bad guy in this first part of the podcast, but he just always had that mindset of like, how can we do good things? How can we help out, but also make a profitable business at the same time?
Yeah, no, those are good traits to have together. You want the money wise person on your side.
Oh, we'll be broke in a heartbeat if I didn't have it. I gave him impossible tasks. Obviously we'll get into it, but and he's done some really incredible things. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, we definitely will get into it. I'd love to go back to school a little bit because, and you mentioned your parents sent you into the food industry first. And I do love that even on your LinkedIn, you have your first job as being a sandwich artist at Subway. So yes.
This is the best job I ever had because literally they're like, as long as you work, you get 2 free subs a day. So at that point in time, I was just crushing food and it was a life-saving thing for my parents. And actually, it was actually pretty awesome for me as well. So it worked out really well.
And it sounds like you're still willing to go eat there, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny. It's hard for me to pay for it now because I used to get it for free. I know it's the only like, hesitation I
Yeah.
have, but I still get from time to time. I'm just like, I don't know, I'd rather just jump behind the counter real quick and do this. But, you know,
I love that. So, getting into college, like you said, you knew you were interested in animals and so majored in biology, but you also did a lot of other things in college. And I always think it's interesting when somebody is a college athlete and majoring in something as intense as like biology and pre-vet, things like that. So, I think you played soccer in college.
yeah, I still try and play it now despite my age, humbled frequently by younger people. But yeah, I love soccer. It's one of the reasons I went to Kansas College, my undergrad, just give me the opportunity to play there. And fortunately, it's a very good academic school as well. So I got kind of the best of both worlds and just was able to really enjoy that and take a leadership position on the team as I got older too. So it's just, I couldn't recommend sports enough for people growing up. It's good for the team. It's good for hard work. And if you can get through that, you can get through most things.
Yeah, I've said this in a previous episode before, but I really appreciate the team mentality and a lot of the learnings that you can take from sports into other avenues of professional life too, because I think a lot of what veterinary medicine is a team sport.
Oh,
So
100%. And did you do any sports yourself growing up?
no, I am not athletically inclined. I was the athletic trainer in high school, so
Oh, just as
I do.
important, actually.
Yeah, so I did some stuff there and handed out water and wrapped ankles and things like that. That's about as close to athletics as I got.
But I think it very much like speaks to your point. There's a team component to it. Like there's different pieces, and like whether it's you're helping on the sidelines, whether you're helping on the field, or you're coaching, it's all team mentality, and you kind of rise and fall together.
Yeah, exactly. And especially in emergency medicine, which we'll also get to here in a little bit. Um, but also while you were at college, I noticed you did a summer research program in equine. So I'm curious, did you have an interest in specific animals? Did that change at all? What kind of got you into that equine internship?
Yeah, so you know, a lot of times they want to see you have a diverse experience going into vet school, and one thing I was lacking was research. So I was fortunately near Michigan State. There's a vet school there, so I was fortunate enough to be able to be connected with a few colleagues, and they were doing this really cool project. Actually, it was trying to look at how they can create a 3D model of a horse and show what type of loads they can actually tolerate. What's the max based on their muscle skeletal system, based on their muscle strength and see how we can determine ahead of time how to avoid things like lameness and so forth so they can have longer, healthier lives. And my job was not as pretty, but it was a cool opportunity to be part of and just really get to break down the musculoskeletal system and see the data they can get from walking on force plates. And then I got a chance to work with live horses too. And they're very impressive. I think, they're one of the greatest athletic creatures in the world. It's just funny that God put them on stick legs because it's like you gave all this power and energy and speed and endurance, this beautiful animal, and then you give me tiny little legs to compensate. I'm like, no wonder why they get hurt when they do, but it's pretty cool. They're very amazing creatures.
Yes. Now, did that spark your interest in equine, or did you always kind of think you'd go more the cat dog route?
I actually really like working with horses. And during the winter in Michigan, if you've ever been in that field, you know that sometimes some of the exams, where you do rectal exams, it's a little warmer in there than otherwise. So actually, I didn't mind equine exams. It's just a tough industry part of it. I think you see a lot of our colleagues, unfortunately, they burn out pretty quick because it's a very physically draining industry. A lot of great people, but I think cats and dogs are always my bread and butter.
Yeah, yeah. Well, going through vet school, did you think emergency medicine was going to be your thing, or how did you start to kind of decide what you might do after vet school?
I've always been a bit of an adrenaline junkie. I like speed and like a little bit of chaos. Thrive well in chaos. And I think I did my first like ER shift in vet school and I worked down in the ICU and I saw the cases that came in. I think I just really appreciate the real conversations you have with people because there's no, in preventive medicine is huge. I cannot emphasize enough. It keeps you out of the ER. But when you're in a more reactive type setting, it does make the conversation simpler in a way of like, you have two choices. You either do this or your pet isn't going to do well. And I think I like that part of it because I think we have more like honest conversations with people sometimes. And I think I get to sell them on something because it made my job easier. I feel bad. I'm probably a worse salesman for it. But when your pet's not doing well, they can see that. I think they're more inclined to take action. Whereas I think general practitioners have such a harder job because they see their pets healthy. Why do I need to be on this preventive? Is it really worth it? It's just, do I need to do the blood work when they're a 6-year-old dog and they look great? I think it's just a harder job to do. So I think it always made my job a little easier.
That's a very good point. Yes, absolutely. There also are some cons that come with it as well. And before we hit record, we talked about we're recording this right after the 4th of July. And most veterinarians, I think, know that the 4th of July is one of the busiest weekends for emergency medicine. And often when you are an intern, this is the weekend you start, which is terrible, whoever thought of this, but I myself went through that as well. So I know you did an internship after vet school. Was it an emergency or rotating? What was it like? And did you start on the July 4th?
I did start on 4th of July with a specialty rotating internship out in Aurora, Illinois, at the VCA Aurora. And uh, yeah, very much like your experience. It was kind of just like, oh, did I make a huge mistake getting into this? But it was like, it also was fun. I had great like intern mates. And I think that's one of the cool part about intern programs. You're kind of all banded together. You're all in the same uncomfortable spot. And I see my best friends still, we talk and just say, hey, remember that time we did this together and just working through cases together it humbles you quickly, which I think is the most important thing, and taught me a lot at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. You do learn a lot. And I think with the right mentors and people to guide you along the way, not only your peers, but also the more seasoned veterinarians that are kind of carrying you through. I think it can be a really good experience, especially right out of vet school to humble you, yes, but then at the same time, you start to get confidence because you're able to have repetition and again, the support.
Absolutely. I think because your specialty is nutrition. Did you know from that day one you're jumping into that, or were you like, I know I want to specialize, I just don't want to do ER, like follow the rule path?
Yeah, so I was thinking nutrition before I got to internship. So yeah, if you can imagine a poor little person dreaming to be a nutritionist going through ER medicine. I did every nutrition case that came through, which we did have some interesting ones, I will say. I still have a lot of good memories from that year. So yeah, again, nutrition is vital for all. So I did get a dose of that, but that lifestyle and that pace was not exactly what I was going for.
I don't blame you. My mom likes to frequently remind me via email and studies that it's not getting a good sleep cycle will end my life early. So I'm like, thanks, mom. You are just a peach sometimes. She means well, fortunately. But yeah, it's a long-term career choice.
Yeah. So for you, when in your internship, you talked about peer support, and I do think that's important. Did you have good mentorship? Did you have people that kind of helped you know how to jump into emergency medicine in a way that you can enjoy it and kind of balance pros and cons?
Yeah, I think ER in general usually has short-lived professionals. I think there's either like there's kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum. You have like the lifers who have just they've adapted to the nightlife. They sleep all day. They live at night, and that's kind of like I know they like play video games in the middle of the night. That's just kind of like their vibe. That's their what they enjoy doing. So it worked out really well for them. And there's people who do it for the first couple of years, get a lot of good experience. They're like, all right, I want to be normal now. And I'm not sure where I am in that spectrum yet. I'm probably in it too long to be like a brief thing. So it's been about 12 years now. But at the same time, I think the passion from those mentors that you referenced, like I think you find anyone that's passionate about what they're doing, you can't help but be attracted to it. And I think that's what's really cool about it because I had Dr. Sheila Mack or Dr. Sheila McCullough, sorry, call her Mac. But she's actually worked with me in myBalto with the foundation, but just an awesome person, very level headed, but you just see how she approaches things and she's double boarded as an internist and a criticalist, so she's already brilliant. But just her passion for doing things and how she wants to support teaching, I think that kind of ingrained in me a little more. And I think we've all had people like that in our life. Even I had a fifth grade teacher, Mrs. Wainwright. She was such a cool person because we go to class and she was a science teacher. She had Albert Einstein as one of those cardboard cutouts in her wall. We took like yearbook photos with him. That's how much she loved this guy. But we walk in during holidays and she put these big paper pumpkins on the door for Halloween. And you'd crawl through the mouth as like a fifth grader. And as you get through the room's all dark. And part of the experiment that day was to count M&Ms and use statistics to say if they're blue, green, red, and you have to eat them at the end of the day. And just you see her passion from day one. And I think that's where I like fell in love with science even more. Because I was like, how could you not love this lifestyle? You see that type of energy behind it. So I think that's kind of the mentor role I had different parts of my own life.
Yeah, I think I have heard multiple stories where people considered certain specialties or considered certain careers because of a really good teacher. And so it does speak volumes for teachers and, maybe not a formal teacher role, but just as a role model that, when you're passionate about something, it shows. So you don't have to have a formal mentorship program. People will see that and will be attracted to it. I agree. And there's of course a balance that it also has to match your personality too, but it kind of sparks it and keeps the flame going, I think. So yeah, that's really good that you had that as well, especially in internship programs. So a lot of this was kind of in the Midwest. I think you consider Michigan and Illinois. Yeah, that's all Midwest. So it's big. But what in the world took you to San Diego and to continue your emergency medicine career?
Yeah, it's funny. It was actually just a simple vacation because
Huh?
I used to work out in Chicago and I worked at Ethos Hospital up there. I still work for Ethos now on the weekends. So I've been very grateful for the opportunities they've given me. But I just happened to go out there with a significant other at the time and spent some time in San Diego. I was like, God, this place has got great food. Like the weather's so much better than Illinois. And I was like, this is like, I was teaching somebody to learn how to surf that one weekend. I was like, this is so cool. I'd love to do this more often. And all of a sudden, like, I get back home and like the week afterwards, I get an update from our like ethos group saying, hey, there's a job opening in San Diego, like not 10 minutes from where we were. I was like, well, we could. And, just went for it. And that was actually really cool because it was an easy transfer. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did because I think it was just a cool opportunity. And San Diego is beautiful. If you haven't been, IVEX in 2020, this year, actually, you should come on out for.
Oh, nice. Never been to an IVEX, but in San Diego, it's a good motivation. It's beautiful. That is funny. It does kind of sound like it was almost meant to be. Like you kind of got the little tease of it and then it happened. But yeah, and I think I've heard that you like scuba diving too. So probably easier to scuba dive in San Diego than Chicago,
Yeah,
or at least
it's
better water.
better water usually. And I love the lakes in Michigan. They're very cool. And I'm a homegrown, like, love Michigan to death. But if I could live on a sailboat the rest of my life, I definitely would. Just my dog probably wouldn't be as thrilled with it yet. I'll still won't be.
But you have a husky, right?
I
So
do. He's
yeah.
my best friend. He's about 14 years old, but he
Yeah.
likes the water too. I ran paid for a husky, so I'm grateful for that. But I don't know if a boat lifestyle is quite in it for him.
Well, when we were talking about emergency medicine, right? That there's pros and there's cons. So as you're, doing years of emergency medicine, what were you kind of watching that kind of sparked you to go, I wonder if there's a better way of doing this?
A lot of it was obviously we go through a lot of pet owners who and pet veterinary care is expensive. I think we all know that by now. And you see a lot of owners that just love their pets. And at some point, I was just tired of having these conversations where like you knew the outcome already, or you'd already be on the ground in the euthanasia room, pushing the drugs, knowing that this pet really didn't have to be euthanized, but the owner didn't have a lot of choice because either that or their mortgage. And and I actually had owners tell me, "Hey, we'll skip our mortgage this month. We'll pay the bill." I'm like, "You've got three kids. Like, no, you can't. I'm not gonna let you do this." But it was still tough. Like being the one that knowing we could fix it. There is an outcome here that's not this. That got really tough after a while. And fortunately, there's a lot of amazing resources out there to help support pets in need. A lot of charities and angel funds. But the one problem I was running into a lot was I didn't know if I get approved. Like, there's a lot of great organizations out there, but like, how do I know I can help this client when I need it? I'm at 2 a.m. and there's not many organizations that are going to take my phone call right now. It might take me a week to get approved. Well, this GDV's got 6 hours. So I don't have that type of time. Those things play a lot of role into like, why isn't there something better than this? Why can't we fix this? And I was actually ironically complaining to my brother one day about this, and that's kind of how it segued into starting something because his mind is like, well, if it's broken, fix it. And here I am 3 years later now almost and buried into this. So it's worth it. But his mindset's actually helped me change how I think myself.
Yeah. Well, do you mind going more into that? Because I think we definitely have some great veterinarians out there who do have wonderful business minds, and, that's amazing. I think notoriously we're known for medicine first and business maybe later. So, what were those conversations like as you kind of were going back and forth between problem and potential solution to, finally getting to a very unique business model?
No, I think I have to thank a lot of my brother for that because he's the younger brother. So first of all, like, as the older brother, I think you know a little more, just, all that kind of stuff. But working with him, you got a chance to see how his mind worked, where I literally tell him veterinarians don't like change. They don't like to pay for things. Um, and you have to build that trust factor first. It's a really big part of working in the veterinary community. So I was like, help me build something that we're not going to charge for, that they can adopt quickly and we can still be sustainable. He's like, are you serious? Like, just come on, man. But he helped do it. I think that's what's cool about it. And we created different incentives to like help make it so it doesn't really cost the clinic anything, but they still have a resource that can really benefit their patients and benefit their staff because they'll give your team members something like, hey, if you have an owner that needs some help and you have an angel fund, like go ahead and use it for this case you needed to. I think that's really the beauty of it because it gives you just another tool because we're not the only solution out there. We can't be. You've got to have a structured approach, and whether it's guaranteed payment plans or insurance or any number of resources, you need all of them. You can't be a good practice these days and not have them. And I think that's really what I learned though, because I give my brother a problem and we'd have just like any entrepreneur lifestyle, you have really crappy days. And then you've got really great days, but you literally spend your entire life going this valley and mountaintop, high from doing something really cool. And then the next day you lose funding for something you thought you had, and you're like emotionally ages you very quickly. Half the hair I had is no longer here because of that very issue. But it's just cool to see, like when I gave my brother a problem, I give him 24 hours and he'd come up with a solution. And I think if we could all kind of frame like, yes, it's going to suck for a little bit, but there's a way of working around it. I just realize there's always an answer for something. And I've been very grateful because I'm finally starting to think like that on my own now, which has been helpful.
I think that is very true of the entrepreneur mindset. It's a figure it out kind of mindset. And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs that I'm around, and probably why I was so attracted to entrepreneurs, is there's a lot of energy behind it too. It's like, ooh, okay, creative time. Let's brainstorm. Let's figure this out. And I think that's so helpful to get you through those, peaks and troughs, because you're right. I know lots of entrepreneurs, including a lot in the veterinary industry, and watching the roller coasters that they're on can be really hard, just watching them go through it. So yeah, it's good to have somebody that has that creative mindset and can maybe rub off on in other ways. But I think ER medicine, you you do that too. I mean, because sometimes you get the weird case, or again, the pet parent's like, well, I've got this much money, or we can do this, or, I don't know, you've got crazy parameters. And a lot of times you have to pull out that creativity. So I don't know if maybe that's just me, that I could see it that way, but do you have to pull out a lot of interesting creative tools?
I think you make a really good point. I think it's sometimes you have to reframe a skill that you already have. You don't realize it because yeah, you MacGyver stuff all the time in veterinary medicine across the board. Like I got $200, like, all right, we're gonna do this instead, and we're gonna see if this works because this is all we have to work with. And so yeah, you've kind of feel like a medical MacGyver in that case. But I think learning that and saying, oh, this can be applied to different situations as well. I think that's really where I've grown a lot as a person, even just the last couple of years, because you're like, it doesn't have to just be medicine. You can. There's always a way. There's always. That's probably the one thing. It sounds silly and very like positive, but there's always a way to make something work. You may not see it right away, but it just takes some time.
Yeah. And all the better to have multiple people around you with different perspectives, so it's a little bit easier to find the
Thank God.
thing you're not thinking about in the moment. So yeah, um, I think that's really interesting. Now, again, the platform you've got, it's kind of complex. I was luckily I was listening to some other podcasts that was helping break it down a little bit. But do you mind sharing how it works and just kind of like the different features? Because there's like the pet parent side and there's the vet clinic side. So I'm kind of curious how it all works.
Yeah. So essentially, what we do is we have our technology company called myBalto. That's a for-profit company. And we have myBalto Foundation, a nonprofit company. And what happens is like the for-profit company, their only goal is to create technology that helps put money into angel funds. That's literally the only goal. Now we try and find as many passive processes as possible, so that way the veterinary team doesn't have to do any work. Things like rounding up, starting our like partner programs that we work with that households can benefit just by using a service and grow their angel fund at the same time. So pretty much our entire ideology is how we make this easier to put money in that account without the hospital doing any work. The foundation, we're fortunate enough, we have a contract with them and they enable us to take in donations for those hospitals. But really the initiative is give every hospital an angel fund so they can legally take in those donations and then use our platform to raise funds easily in mostly innovative ways too, which is that's I think where we really change the game. And then also when you have money, make it very easy to reimburse yourself. So you're like, hey, this is our funds. We know how much we can give. We're reimbursed right away. We have automatic approval, so I don't have to wait for some third party to tell me yes. I can just help them because I want to help them. And that's really the main initiative I wanted to get across to like our colleagues, because it shouldn't be that hard. I actually trust veterinarians to treat the right case more than anyone else because they do it every day. They know which case is a good outcome. They may work with this family for years, and sometimes that's enough. Like, yeah, it's a 2-year-old dog that may be septic, but I've seen 2-year-old dogs or septic do really, really well when the funding's available. So I think that's what the beauty of it is. Just give veterinarians more power to say yes.
And there's, unless this has changed since I last listened to this episode, there's a way that the pet parent side of things, they do normal shopping, just like they would like go on Chewy or something, but they do it through the myBalto app, which starts giving them funds back as well. Do you mind explaining that a little bit?
Yeah, so that was when I really and I first started.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, it's a great question because we still have to probably wipe some of that. So it's an issue we would like to bring up one day, but starting your own app, we found out it's very expensive. You need to have a lot of marketing resources behind you. And, we tried for some time. We're like, this is a good idea, but we're not ready for it yet. So we end up pivoting to the point where like we just now focus only on angel funds, getting hospitals to. So we pretty much support the veterinary hospital. And they, in turn, it's kind of more of, if you're religious at all, you might know the story of like, give a man a fish, they eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, they eat for a lifetime. That's kind of philosophy we help with. Is like, we're going to give you 5 tools to bring in donations every single day. And then you can use those tools at your leisure to help those patients who need it most. And I think that's really the cool part about it we'll always get some new tools coming in. We got some new ones come up that we're really excited for once we take a breath, but there's some really cool things we have coming down the pipeline that's only going to help further that initiative.
Very cool. Now, I know you recently worked with Healthy Pet Connect on a project, and that was working with rescues as well. And is there kind of a direction that you're interested in going when it comes to rescues or anything else?
Absolutely. I think honestly, it's community. I think that's really what we're shooting for because honestly, we're all intertwined. Every hospital I've worked at has always worked with rescues in some capacities or pet boarding facilities. It's already a community of pet care. And what we're trying to do is saying, hey, how can we all raise funds together? Maybe it's through rounding up all together. So that way, when the owner does need help, they can take their funds from one hospital or boarding facility and just go directly to the next hospital who can maybe afford the care they need to do. And it's now creating a community effort to support their pets because honestly, the more general practitioners that do this, the better because they can get it before the animals get sick or before they get sicker. When I see them, yeah, their creatinine kidney values are through the roof. But they went to their vet earlier in the week, they just declined blood work. What if they'd done blood work on day 3 when their creatinine was 5 instead of seeing me when I was 13? That's 2 less days of hospitalization. That's $3,000 to $4,000 they're saving. That's really the impact we're trying to look for. So we want to work with rescues. We want to work with the pet store across the street and say, hey, every time you round up a checkout, these funds go to the local hospital to help more pets in need. And I think that's really the dream that we're trying to build. And we're starting to see that now, which is cool.
It's a really good point. We just got to make sure we educate the pet parents on that note pay for the blood work now. So that doesn't happen in the future, but a wonderful mission for sure. Now, this seems like a lot. How do you balance ER work and running 2 organizations, basically? How do you make it all work?
Lots of caffeine. And I'm very fortunate. I think it's because I love what I do. I don't think I could do this, honestly, if it wasn't the case, but I do love practicing clinical medicine that allows me to see patients, be still invested in it, and see why we need this. because then I get to go home Monday through Friday and I work on myBalto. I'm talking to households. I hear their stories and you see their stories afterwards too. I think that's really the cool part because we had a household last week. They helped a cat out in Colorado, and it's really cool because this guy couldn't afford the care for his pet. They saved his cat, and not only did he reach out to us afterwards and say, "Hey, one, just thank you for giving me more time with my cat. This household is fantastic. I just want to show my appreciation for them." But also next year, my company wants to sponsor an event for them, so all the donations will go towards them. And that's the piece that I love seeing. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to find a way to get back in my own way. That's what I love to see. And it kind of reminds me of the movie Pay It Forward. Have you ever seen it?
I feel like I should, but no, I recognize the title.
It's really
Tell me the
cute. It's Kevin Spacey, but essentially he's a teacher and he teaches his kids to say, hey, create a project that can change the world essentially.
mm,
And one of the students, I think it's Haley Joel Osment at the time, creates this pay it forward approach where he helps three people and then they help three people and then they help three people. And it creates this really beautiful community of like, you do one good deed for someone and they can pay it forward, how much better we can make things. I love that philosophy and that's what I want to try and breed into what we're doing.
yeah, make the world a better place. Well, and I also I can't help but think about this every time I have a conversation too. I think there's something special about that make the world a better place when it has animals attached to it. Because I think there's something about animals and especially pets too that just kind of naturally allow the good nature of humans to come out where, it's the story of the gentleman who his cat was saved and his whole company was willing to sponsor the organization. I think that is just really special. That just kind of speaks to maybe a little bit of that human animal bond. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you and I know, like, you have cats, correct?
No, I have a dog and I do have an outdoor cat and I'll claim him. He's okay.
He's okay. But like, it's funny how many people I talk to and they're like, I would do anything for my pet. I think there's even a comedian that makes a joke with the John Wick movies. He's like, yeah, I first heard about this movie about some guy that goes on a rampage and kills a whole bunch of people when they, hurt his dog. And he's like, then I got a dog and I would do the exact same thing. If anyone ever touched a hair on his beautiful head, I would take out the world. It's like, I think we all have that feeling because you can't help but not love them because they love you so much. They are there for you. They may be annoying at times, but it's only out of love and affection they want to be with you. And I think the best representation of that is this really beautiful photograph that someone painted where it's got a picture of a man on the bench next to his dog. And they both have a thought bubble above their head. And above the guy's thought bubble, it's some skiing with some girlfriend or gambling at the casino, just like all fun activities. And then the dog's thought bubble is literally the two of them sitting on that bench together, just hanging out. And it's like, I don't think we understand how special, and both cats and dogs, that just isn't just related to dogs, but just how much we are lucky to have them. So I think it's easy to get on their side to support them because, like, they're helpless and they just love us. So we don't deserve them, but we're going to do everything we can to save them.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you have a very close bond with your husky dog name, Loki, right? Loki.
So, yep.
Yeah. Do you have like a fun gotcha story with him or any fun stories?
He was a terror. I do kind of because ironically, I was in vet school and I thought it was a great idea to go get a dog before I started vet school during the summer leading up. I'd have time to train it. We'd be best friends for life, all that. And my friends from vet school, like, you're an idiot. It's a husky. I ignored everything they said. So meanwhile, I go to the shelter one day, and of course, the husky I'm looking for that's on one of the pet finder sites isn't available. It's getting spayed at the point in time, so I just didn't know. But her brother is next to him. Ironically, that brother is Loki. So I was like, oh, this dog is wonderful. Like, he's such a nice guy. Like, I love this dog. And of course, I go back to school, and the place is like 30 minutes away. So I have to have my significant other at the time go for the adoption day. And I'm panicking. So I'm like, there's so many people are going to want this dog. Like, there's no chance I'm going to get him. And of course, I get there, and nobody wants him. Everybody wants the sister. And I was like, don't understand it. So I got him that day. I learned a lot about huskies and new dogs very quickly. I think the reason I'm so patient is because of this dog. Again, he's a beautiful dog. He's actually my best friend I've ever asked for, so I cannot say really that many bad things about him. But first 3 months were tough. He destroyed about $1,500 worth of my things between 3 cages, carpet, my PlayStation set, my stethoscope. Like, it was insane. I was like, "What have I done?" It was horrible. But since then, point in time, we are best friends. We smooth those things out. I've learned to be a better dog dad. So,
Aw. Well, anything that you, looking back and would recommend to fellow veterinary people coming through looking for, their spot in veterinary medicine, any words of wisdom you have for them?
honestly, I think is if you see a problem, don't sit on the sidelines. You have just as much power to go fix something. Ask for help. I think that's a big part of it. But there's people who are like are willing to offer advice, either they're already in the industry. But if you have an idea and you want to like, don't just sit on the sidelines. Get out there, try and help out because we have a voice. Some of the best ideas come from people on the floor. They see the problem, they find innovative ways to fix it, and ask for advice. I think honestly one of the biggest problems. We're grateful for a lot of our advisors because they kind of guide us in the right direction. And I don't know all the things, but just like anything else, we learned vet med on the go. And I think what was the saying back in school, C equals DVM or D equals DVM or whatever it was. Scott,
C,
that's safety.
you get a pass.
C equals, and it's been a long time. And I think that philosophy applies. Like, you don't have to know all the things, but as long as you have the passion before it, you'll be all right.
Yeah, no, those are very, very good. And what is something that you are really, really grateful for right now?
A lot of things. I think honestly at this point in time, I'm grateful for my brother. I wouldn't be where I am right now without his support and just his innovation. And honestly, he keeps me balanced. I'm a pretty even keel person, but on the dark days, he's helped be like, hey, it's cool. We're gonna get through this. And I've done the same for him, but I think I've learned a lot from him in the process. So yeah.